Thank you for watching Conscious Consumer Network. The live stream broadcast is free to view. You can pause and rewind live broadcasts to catch up, or view shows at a later date by accessing our free archives of all shows. Check out our broadcast guide to see what's on. You can show your support by donating to our network support fund. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or subscribe to the monthly newsletter for updates. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
One of the world's most famous scientists, Stephen Hawking, says our planet has an expiration date. Don't freak out too much though, it's probably not going to affect you. Hawking said in a lecture at Oxford University he doubts humanity will last for another 1,000 years, unless we can move on and inhabit Mars or another planet. The famed physicist said dwindling resources on our big blue planet means we humans will eventually have to find another home. Hawking added that threats like nuclear war, climate change, or artificial intelligence run amok a la Terminator could make humanity's time on Earth even shorter. Fortunately, NASA's been scanning the stars for a suitable replacement planet, and it's found a few thousand potential candidates beyond our solar system. But until we have the technology to get people out that far, we'll have to settle for our nearest not quite habitable neighbor, Mars. SpaceX founder Elon Musk hopes humans will arrive on the red planet by 2025.
Hello everyone, my name is Dustin. I'm 22 and this is I think the fourth show that I'm doing. And this one's pretty cool, so.
Hi, I'm Neil and this is Youth on Subjects of the World, and today we're going to be talking about space exploration, humans moving on from Earth, possibilities for colonization, what we could do to move on into the next journey of our species. So I guess we're just going to see what we can do with that. So what do you think our next option would be? Well, clearly Mars is what everybody's looking at. NASA's looking at it, Mars One. All of these cool concepts and projects are all looking at Mars because that's the closest really neighbor for colonization.
I was watching a video about the Venus sky cities before this.
Oh, I saw that too.
And Venus is actually closer, right?
I'm not sure. I can look that up though. But I found that very interesting, as well as another thing was I think first thing we should talk about is the basic things we need to tackle. They were saying that, we can't even get past because the radiation that, Earth's magnetic field protects us, the radiation that, our sun emits, space, it's in space. There's a problem where obviously there could be problems taking such a long journey to Mars, and I remember there were some theories and people proposing that there will be a way to create our own magnetic field around a spaceship, as well as a sort of water shield, like a layer of water around the place where the crew would be held. Also, effects of people in low gravity for large amounts of time.
Wait, you mean people need to protect themselves while they're traveling to Mars or when they get to Mars?
Both. because for the first thing would be while traveling there, because if there's a chance that, people could die before they even get there. So what do we do about that? So propulsion isn't really a problem. Actually, physically getting there isn't as much a problem, because in space, Newton's laws of physics, you just need to grab a rocket, just boom, blast. This is the most basic technology. Grab a chemical rocket, launch it as like fast and hard as you can, and even when the engine dies out, it'll still be going forward. You just need directional thrusters. Getting there, it'll take a long time, but we can get there. It's just, how can humans survive? How can humans survive the radiation? How can humans survive no gravity? On the International Space Station, the astronauts, they need to exercise to make sure they don't deteriorate muscle, and even then they still do. So, and I don't know how long they spent there. Actually, let me just look up how long they spend there, because you've seen, and also thing, if we actually want to colonize Mars, I think the definition of colonizing is actually like growing plants there, which I don't think really matters as much as actually having a population, the first Martian. But then there are other things about how would a human fetus develop in low gravity. We've evolved for our bodies to develop in this particular gravity, these settings. How we know radiation affects, even if we do have so-called radiation shields or whatever, we're probably still going to get more radiation than we get on Earth, if I'm not mistaken. So how will that affect a baby? How will the no gravity affect a baby? You don't know what could happen. It could come out being mutated with tumors from the radiation. It could come out, it could be born with limbs misgrown because of the low gravity. We can't really just I could keep sending people there, but I think the end goal is to have, for space exploration at least, to have people around and they have their own populations.
And I was watching a TED talk about some guy was describing how you would survive on Mars and how it would be our children could potentially be the next generation that that lives on Mars. And I think that, I don't know, I'm kind of wondering whether it would even be important to go to Mars right now, or do we need to fix what's happening on Earth right now?
That's a debate that's sometimes used. I know where a debate that's used that I hear is for some countries that have space programs. I hear them say, why do you have space programs when your country still is a developing country, this. And I believe that there are actually reasons for it, because I'm not sure exactly how, but I remember reading somewhere that space exploration can actually be profitable for countries. But I'm not sure. But if you look at Mars One and, SpaceX and all these, look at SpaceX, they're a company. These private organizations, I really honestly see these private organizations colonizing Mars. NASA, as far as I know, I could be completely wrong because this is a very complex topic. NASA is looking for astronauts go there, astronauts come back. Imagine the fallout. Imagine the fallout that they could face, like the press fallout they could face if they lose somebody on Mars, somebody died. They colonize Mars and every single person there dies, and they're like a governmental figure. They can't really stand to lose that, and it'd also be a symbol to the other countries. A symbol that being that, look, America. As soon as NASA started developing new rockets, new new passenger rockets after the space shuttle. They're totally failing. They're killing people on Mars. Imagine the international press, the local press, the approval rating for NASA, whereas if a company fails, even the government can say, whoa, that was bad, not cool, bro, don't do that. And if it succeeds, they could say, oh, look, capitalism, God bless America, it can really be changed in different ways. And companies don't have to answer to the government, like, saying, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this. They just have to answer to their board. Oh, and by the way, on the thing where which planet is closer, Venus or Mars, during this period, Venus would be the closest planet to Earth. However, there are times when Mars is actually the closest planet. For example, during August 2003, Earth and Mars were at such a point in their orbits that Mars was at one of its closest distances to Earth, and this is from Quora. I don't know how you pronounce that. Quora. It's Quora. It was the top result on Google. But it seems right now that Venus is the closest planet. But I think it would be relatively harder to even get boots on the ground per se. We probably even wouldn't have boots on the ground, like you were talking about, the so-called floating cities on Venus and extracting the gases from Venus's atmosphere. I think a real problem though would be just simply the most simplest of things. Like how long I believe wasn't there a probe in Venus, and I don't know if there are probes on Venus right now. But I remember one probe, maybe it was the first, maybe it was the last, but to land on Venus, it lasted about 30 seconds or an hour or so, a very small amount of time, or maybe a day, I'm not sure. It was a very small amount of time that probe lasted, and it was still considered a success. The ground on Venus is pretty treacherous, very hot.
I think that, I don't know if we're really ready to leave the planet quite yet. And if you look back in history, people didn't have perfect civilizations, and we still don't, but they still went out and they explored. So I'm thinking it's probably just our human nature to go out and explore. And I think that it also helps us to learn who we are in the process. So I don't know, maybe just because we're messing up Earth, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't go to Mars or anything. But I don't know. I think the first people that go to Mars, if they were a group of educated people that really didn't have much of a political agenda other than exploration and just expand with the interests of humankind in mind, instead of trying to this is for our nation, I'm going to put the flag here and we're the best and yay us. But something that's for the whole of humankind. Mm-hmm. And I think as that gets more popular, as more and more people begin to leave Earth, hopefully it will be a more enlightened race at that time, and we won't want to bring any of the drama there, Hopefully we won't have drama here.
Yeah, well, hopefully, we're thinking. But I think that what you said is, I definitely have to agree with that. I don't think problems here on Earth should really affect, maybe they shouldn't affect how we're going to go into the future. Also, because if you look at their habitable planets that we find, so many of them, and so many is a relative term, you have to understand, and we can go there, we can't go there because they're just so extremely far away. I think it's the closest like habitable planet. I could be completely wrong. Again, this is a complex topic. It is 14 light years away. So 14 light years away is a pretty big deal because that's 14 years traveling at the speed of light. Now let's just talk a second about space travel because this is the topic that probably interests me a lot. So first of all, let's talk about what it takes to travel at the speed of light. So pretty basic stuff. Photons, light particles, again, completely wrong about this, they have no mass. And when you have no mass, you're already traveling at the speed of light. You have no mass. But there are theories, and this is where it gets interesting and your head starts to hurt, where we can have negative mass. And negative mass, you could potentially travel faster than the speed of light. But that really does, then you can just say, oh, cool, we developed that technology. There's the Alcubierre drive and like theory. And we're like, which I believe it actually bends and warps space to move like your own pocket and bubble in space to move it. And your ship is inside that bubble. So technically, you aren't moving. This pocket is getting distorted and moving that way, which could, in theory, bypass the laws of physics and travel faster than light, which is very interesting. But then there are things called time dilation, where when you go faster than light, you actually go back in time. So this is where it gets really interesting. We could have colonies, if we develop faster than light travel, okay, theoretically, we could have colonies all around the galaxy living in different time periods. So maybe right now we could have a colony that was launched 5,000 years from now, living right now in our time period somewhere else because they use faster than light travel to get there. So that's really cool. And when you get at the speed of light, you start traveling you start going forward in time. So yeah.
Strange. I've never thought of that before.
Yeah, you really have to. I never could comprehend how people say, "Oh, time is an actual thing like space. It's not. It's you have to think of it as a thing that can be manipulated. Space is not a simple line." And I never really grasped that until I thought about the concept of colonies living in different time periods that were all launched from the same time zone. I was like, wow, this is really strange. And you look at these sci-fi universes. Let's just use Mass Effect as an example because, that shouldn't be that hard. The new one just came out. And I'll use that because that's probably the most, what's the word? It works the most. What are you saying?
Accurate?
Yeah, it's the most accurate. It's really the most accurate to what we're trying to look for the future. So you got other things that have space flight, but these and it uses the same theory. In the universe, the main plot device is called Element Zero, and it's and it basically, when charged with electricity, it can either lower the mass or increase the mass of the things around it. So it can take artificial gravity, or it can basically negate the mass of a ship and make it travel faster than light. So, that's where the theory comes in. If we were supposedly to find, but Mass Effect also ignores a very huge plot hole, which is, what about time dilation? It literally says in their codex that with negligible time dilation effects, and they don't even know what time dilation is. So in theory, that's how we would be living in the future, in theory. Unless we find a way to manipulate wormholes, but that's no fun. We just say, okay, we can manipulate wormholes. We can go here whenever we want. What's really interesting is how time works. And different spots.
What do you think of black holes?
Well, black holes, that's so cool because we don't really know anything about them. For all we know, it could be it could be just a destroyer. It just breaks down matter. It just breaks down, but we know what we know about physics is that we know about the universe, that we think we know about it, is that you can't destroy matter. You can only manipulate it. Again, we could be wrong. Why can't we be wrong about these things? We could be completely wrong about all of these things. We could find, we go to Mars, we could find this little device that says, that's red. It says, oh, if I read this, okay, press here to activate warp drive, creates a wormhole, and you go to wherever you want. Set destination done. You know, we really don't know. And that's the most strange, fascinating, and terrifying part, because we have the laws of physics, all these laws, we like to call them scientific laws. Literally, when something is scientifically proven, it's called a law. But yet we really can't define that. I mean, there's a very valid evidence that we haven't even gone to the moon. How can we go beyond the stars, really? Who knows? Maybe we have been to the moon. Maybe we haven't. But how are we supposed to colonize the galaxy? How are we supposed to colonize beyond? Should we even colonize it? What do we do?
Yeah, like, I wonder how far we can even go. Like,
yeah, that kind of freaks me out.
And what would be the point of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to see what's out there, but I don't know. I kind of see it as everything is like a microcosm and a macrocosm of itself. So in a way, you can experience the entire universe like in your area. You don't have to go all the way, you know, over there to find out something new. Like, you can find out, I mean, I don't really know, but I don't know, I get the sense that you can find out what you need to know where you are.
Another thing that I just thought about is, like, just on the fly here, what if we were to take a probe with the theoretical Alcubierre drive, send it to the very end of the galaxy, okay, very end of the galaxy, okay, very end. Who knows how far back it would be, right? Who knows how far back in time it would be, right? That it would go. It went to the very end of the, not galaxy, the very end of the universe. If they're people are like, oh, there's no end of the universe. Well, we don't know. Let's just so very far away. I'm going to use the word very far away. So we're just going to go very far away, way outside of anything we've ever observed, and just record it, take pictures, do whatever they want, or maybe we would wait. The probe would sit there dormantly, because remember, it just went back in time. So it would maybe, let's just say, and probably more than this, let's just say a few million years before the Earth was created, okay? And the probe sat there, waited till it was the time period where it was launched, like the very second it was launched, take a bunch of pictures, record data, and send send itself back. And when it went back, it would once again be, you know, before the Earth was created, wait there dormantly. So just think about this. Imagine this, launching a probe, then seeing it come back with images of the universe. That's, you know, it probably would never happen, theoretical, but that's the concept we're talking about here with faster than light travel. Imagine launching a probe, and the second it goes out of view, it comes back with images of the very edge of the known universe. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That would just be so cool. Just like taking like a little probe and throwing it, and it comes back with edges. That's really cool.
And I wonder if we can like cross dimensions eventually.
Yeah, that would be great. Just imagine, or would it be great? We don't know what we would find. You know, about parallel universes, every single thing is opposite. We could go into one where, you know, Axis won World War II, and we would, it was just insane. Or we could go somewhere where humans never evolved from Neanderthals. No one knows what could happen. It's possibilities really are endless with those, as well as space exploration. If you ask me what I want to know, it really is, I want to know like the secrets of the universe. No big deal, I know, right? But seriously, just imagine it, because we know nothing. We really know nothing. relatively speaking, we know nothing other than this is Earth, this is Mars, this is that. We can only hope for consistency. I know you think, oh, but I want something new and cool, but really new and cool, you don't know what that new thing could be. So maybe it could be consistent across the entire known universe, where it can be so consistent, where galaxies, planets, habitable planets, non-habitable planets, it could be consistent, or every single galaxy could be completely different. We have no idea. Let's just take Andromeda as an example. We will, if humanity survives, we're going to find out what happens with, we're going to find out what happens and what happens inside Andromeda eventually. If humanity survives, even on Earth, if humanity survives, we're going to find out what happens with Andromeda because, the Milky Way and Andromeda are going to collide with each other. It's going to be a very long time before they collide, but it's going to happen. We're going to miss it. Our children's children will miss it. But we don't know. Humanity as a whole. We could transcend mortality itself by then. If there's a way to, upload our conscious into a computer, we won't even get into that because it's not really space exploration related. We could survive there.
And I wonder, I know this is kind of getting into the afterlife topic, but if we were to progress far enough where we can connect with just some other dimension that we can't even comprehend, and then somehow we merge with it and we're able to feel all of the beings that have passed away, or we're able to feel strange alien beings that we can't even imagine. I wouldn't even know how to describe it. It would be some kind of energy, but absolutely no physical form.
The universe is the form. We would feel it. We would almost be it. We'd be at one with it. That would be interesting.
That reminds me of the movie Lucy.
I hadn't watched that, but I think I wanted to, yeah, but I didn't watch it. What is it about?
It's pretty much exactly that. This
Spoilers.
This woman, she's captured, and these people put some new experimental drug in her, and it kind of it comes loose and it goes into her bloodstream, and it pretty much makes her a superhuman. It starts unlocking parts of her brain.
Yeah, doesn't go on the theory only use 10% of her brain or something, which I think is false actually. I believe it's actually, we don't know what we use our entire brain, but we don't know what the majority of the brain does.
Yeah.
Wrong, but I believe that premise is false. But it's still interesting. What were you saying about it?
So she basically just more and more parts of her brain start to unlock, and the whole package of drugs gets absorbed into her bloodstream, and
she swallowed a pack of drugs to transfer to somebody. Is that what
well they kind of put it in her without her consent.
They cut her open surgically.
Yeah, and so she only has a day to live or something, but her brain progressively gets more and more unlocked throughout the day until finally she kind of becomes the universe. It's really interesting.
That's heavy. That's a heavy movie right there.
Yeah, she's able to control pretty much anything she wants. And she ends up uploading her consciousness to this organic computer that she makes, and she makes them a thumb drive and kind of gives it to them.
She survives in a thumb drive. That's pretty cool.
But it just makes you think what when are we going to get to that level? Because I think that is our destiny. That is ultimately what
transcend mortality itself, I think, is what human, and honestly I think that scares a lot of people because they think of all the things they appreciate being, having mortality, all the little things like going and visiting this, doing that, going to a park, even the little things. We may not want them anymore when we transcend mortality, but imagine before we transcend mortality just thinking, but I want to do these things. But we wouldn't have to because we'd be content with life itself. But just still, you wouldn't have the appreciation that you have, or maybe would, but all at once. We can't really even comprehend it right now, being everything, because we would imagine being everything being okay. Well, the stars are my skin, the planets are my, blood cells, you know what I'm talking about? We'd imagine these things representing physical things on the body, physical things that we can comprehend. We can comprehend our skin, we can comprehend our eyes, we can comprehend hearing things, we can comprehend colors. That's really all we can comprehend. It's really all we can comprehend as being things. We have to represent them with these physical things we know. And when you take that into consideration, you realize just how limited we are. Because all we have is feeling the texture of things, seeing the shape and color of things, and hearing sounds, and a very limited frequency of sounds, and a very limited range of color, might I add. And taste. And people say, oh, we have taste. It's like, okay, do you see us going around licking everything and seeing what it so taste really doesn't count there, okay? You have to go around licking everything.
And I think people kind of, they're worried about not having their bodies anymore, and they're worried about not having their individuality anymore. Like, people tend to associate who they are with what they do, with what they see, with what they've experienced emotionally. But like, if you go beyond that, you comprehend all of that, you are all of that, but you're everything else at the same time. And it's kind of like, yeah, you're not exactly an individual anymore, but you are the individual in the whole collective, which is how things are anyways. It's just now you're realizing it. Now you're experiencing it. So I don't think it's anything to be afraid of. I think if our consciousness were to leave our body and our mind, and, well, I don't know, I think the mind is a part of the consciousness, but not the brain. If the consciousness were to be released from the body, then it just kind of it embodies everything. It's no longer bound to this feeling of individuality, you know?
Yeah. I think that also a reason we want to survive. So let's imagine for a second that without a doubt we know that the end, like when our human body stops functioning, that is the end of all consciousness, all knowing anything, and then the earth begins to let's just say deteriorate as it's already deteriorating. What do you think we would do? Because when there's desperation, humans have been shown to do some very, very cool things. What do you think the natural progression would be? Like, what do you think we would do? So I know another thing that was theorized. There was a video, one of my favorite videos on YouTube. It's called, I don't think I even liked it now that I think about it. I should. One of my favorite videos on YouTube, it's called What If NASA Got the Military's Budget and It's Relating to America? Obviously, it said NASA. And it was just the theory. That would be great because we spend, like, I believe NASA's budget. I'm going to look up what NASA's budget is right now and what the military budget is. But it's just horrible, how different it is. We could have like a sci-fi civilization if we transfer that. But so imagine this sci-fi world. I actually imagined this sci-fi world in my head and thought, what if this happened? So I imagined, because right now, kind of in a race for arms. What if a space race happened, but a space race that never ended, like a race for arms? What if a military industrial complex, like you see a lot, but it was actually a space age industrial complex. So we have the entire economy relying on exploring space. Multiple businesses solely dedicated to selling the government space technology. And the government not having a huge like defense thing, and it would all be revolving around, like, imagine a second space race that never ended. And the military budget for the United States would go to the space budget, and the military would dwindle down. Imagine that. Where would we go? That is a video I highly recommend everybody watching. I think it's called If NASA's Budget Became the Military Budget, or like if NASA was given the military budget. It's absolutely incredible what we could do. So I think just the fact that we could do it is something.
And I do think that there's going to be a World War III. But I think that after that, we kind of like after World War II, there was like a big flourishing of activity, right? Like
because military conflicts, like I remember how I was saying, like, it incentivizes development, like conflict. I was saying that earlier, and humans did some pretty cool things, and they're faced with like perilous situations. Technology takes leaps forward when that happens. So yeah, maybe the after World War III, like you were saying, space age.
Yeah. Like, and we could shift our economy, and then it could be based on space exploration. That's how we would get our stuff going.
Yeah.
But I don't know, people are, and most people aren't like this, but it just seems like people are war hungry. I don't know. They just want to, they just want to dominate and strut their stuff. And it's like, come on, we could be doing so much cooler things.
Mm-hmm. I think the reason is that because I feel, maybe not the entire reason, but I feel at least a few people, maybe most people, I don't know. I feel like with the way the world is today, with all the, America, when people are like, America, they're not chanting America, capitalism, like they were during the Cold War. They're not shouting America, apple pie. They'll say that, but what they really say when they America, what comes to mind? It comes fighter jets, war, conflict. America's the best, and you see so many parades of tanks and jets, and it really makes people go, okay, I really can't justify being here. I really can't. I feel like I need to justify this to myself. What's happening by saying, oh, we do need this in some way, or, oh, this is national pride. When I feel like national pride should be who has the longest life, which country has the longest life, which country has the best modern medical science, which country has reached the farthest in the stars. People are like, oh, well, yes, well, this country did this country did that. Yes, but who's celebrating it? People like, America, we had Mars exploration rovers. Nobody says that. You don't say that. Who's ever said, let's say, America, we get tanks and helicopters and shoot people.
Yeah, we had the biggest bombs.
Yeah, the biggest bombs. And then Russia's like, Russia, biggest bomb. Everyone wants the bombs. They want the guns. And I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about everybody. Almost every single major country has the potential to transfer their massive military power into space power. Because every single major country, I'm pretty sure, has a space program. And we really should be taking our space programs to the next level. All we have right now are chemical rockets, okay? Chemical rockets really aren't all that effective, relatively speaking. I mean, yes, they're effective. They cause this, if you look at it, it's pretty impressive. They cause a big-ass explosion, and it goes into the air into space. It's pretty impressive, but relatively speaking, chemical rockets aren't really that impressive compared to what we theorize. And of course, we can theorize anything. We can theorize the Alcubierre drive. I'll tell you right now, faster than light travel is a lot more impressive than a big explosion and going in like a few feet above Earth's atmosphere. But, anyways, what I was talking about, what was I saying? There's these, I believe it was something called photonic propulsion that was theorized to use the energy of photons to propel spacecraft so fast that they would reach Mars in 3 days. Wow. I think it might have been slower than that, or I actually might have been. It was a video from, I don't know what they're called. It's Discovery something. The YouTube channel's Discovery D Science. I don't know. I don't know what it was called, but basically they had a video. Just look up photonic propulsion, and they use. So it's basically the same idea as I don't know if anybody's heard of a solar sail, because I don't know much about it. It's just they have this thing to catch the energy from the sun, the photons, and theoretically, or maybe really, shining a laser at the spaceship and using the energy and using that to propel the spacecraft very, very fast. I believe that there was a theory that it could reach a very small percentage, I don't know, 0.2 or 3% the speed of light, and we could reach a star cluster very soon. But then there comes the thing of the difficulty with stopping it. How we stop it? So imagine us going with photonic propulsion, reaching 0.3% the speed of light, which is massive. I'm pretty sure it's massive. We can't slow down because remember, for every action, has an equal and opposite reaction, very basic stuff. And it's hard to have a reaction. It's hard to have an opposite reaction to that 1.3% speed of light. So theoretically, I guess, I could be completely wrong. It could be stupid. We could launch maybe as soon as the spacecraft maybe reaches a certain velocity, we could already start blast thrusters. So halfway there, we could start decelerating. Just stop propelling it and just start decelerating as we're halfway there. It might take that long to decelerate. Again, I could be completely wrong and stupid, but it's very cool. Also, nuclear fusion rockets, probably the more plausible and of the few. And I believe that time slot was 3 weeks. We could reach Mars with nuclear. I could be wrong because D-News is what it was called. D-News. They basically, they're both threes. They could be rounding out the numbers. But yeah, even nuclear fusion rockets, I say even, it's a pretty big accomplishment if we can get to Mars with nuclear fusion rockets. If we get them, that would be amazing. We don't need to have faster than light travel. Right now, we just want to get to Mars. We really just want to get to Mars and make them survive. And honestly, I want to talk about how we can make them survive, but I just don't know how.
Well, there's food, water, clothing, and shelter, but then they need oxygen.
Yeah, and the problem is that formula was developed on Earth. They're also going to need gravity, which maybe they don't need gravity. Maybe they can just exercise a lot, but they're probably still going to get ingrown things because their bones are probably going to get weaker. And also children. What are we going to do about that? I remember in the break video, you will see that there is people are saying that we can genetically engineer embryos so that we can, basically just genetically engineer babies so that they will be, better on Mars. That is definitely a viable option, but that raises an ethical concern for me, not the idea of genetically engineering humans, because if there's room for error, then obviously it's ethically there's always room for error, but if there's too much room for error, obviously it's ethically challenging. But the ethical challenge I'm talking about is right now, imagine them spending all this money on genetically engineering a single baby when there are children starving on the other side of the world and on this side of the world.
Yeah.
So that brings up an ethical concern. Spending all this money to raise a single baby, a single genetically engineered perfect baby, when you could be spending that money to feed 100,000 babies. That brings up an ethical concern. Not as much leaving the planet because, we got not as much going to Mars because that's really not as much a concern as it is to create a genetically engineered perfect baby with so much money that could be distributed to all these starving children on planet Earth.
Yeah, there's definitely like a priority checklist that we need to make.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, the rich are able to get away with holding on to a lot of their wealth, and it's really not distributed equally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now we could feed everyone on the planet, but it's because people have manipulated the laws and stuff where they don't have to give up as much money. And
we got problems like animal agriculture is it actually, because animals, we actually feed them so much. We actually feed them food where the amount of food that an animal produces when it's slaughtered is actually less than the total amount of plants that were used to feed that animal. So if we actually ended animal agriculture, we could solve world hunger. So it's all these distribution problems. We have the money to do it. We have the resources to do it. We're just really squandering it away. And really, we need to solve that before we can think about genetically engineering the perfect human to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Another idea is just saying, screw the ethical concerns. A company could say, screw the ethical concerns. We're not the government. We don't have to deal with the political fallout. We're going to leave Earth behind and start all our operations on Mars. Imagine a company doing that. Not, okay, this company is going to go to Mars. This company is going to have a headquarters on Mars, and they're just going to say, laws, screw your laws. Actually, another cool thing is that the universe, I believe in the UN or some sort of document, is considered the common heritage of mankind. So apparently we own the universe. Imagine an alien species coming and saying, so which one of your nations, since there are so many of them, owns your solar system? Oh, the entire universe is the common heritage of all mankind, which is what it said. So that's kind of stupid.
Yeah. What was I going to say? If corporations were to make that decision to just go to Mars without
just
any other consideration, I think that would have more dire consequences because there would be a lot of disagreement. I think there would be or maybe not disagreement, but rivalry and kind of competition. And if they go to Mars, they
get violent.
They're stationed there. They get to determine their own laws and kind of do things how they want. But then that gives them the ability to kind of create their own war-like entity. And then possibly that could go to war with Earth. And
I mean, come on. We could probably irradiate the entire planet surface of Mars if we felt like it. we could, if they try to mess us, we could irradiate the entire planet surface of Mars, make it entirely capable. If they come near us, we could simply, if they come even within atmosphere, we could completely launch them, kill them with AA guns. Earth's going to win that battle for sure. I think the main problem is if companies go there and since if they really are heartless and they really care about the bottom line, it might not be that way because you have to be sort of idealistic, less than greedy to go to Mars, I feel. Because I feel like there are much more profitable opportunities on Earth. I could be wrong. But let's say two companies care about the bottom line, okay, this company is messing things up. Yes, technically there are laws in space since it's the common heritage of all mankind, but Who's going to go over there and force them? Are we going to get on a colony ship and go over there with a single police officer, say, you get a ticket, sir? No. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. They do what they want. So, they're going to have people there, and what are they going to do? They'll probably say, oh, an accident. One of our ships moving to one of our colonies, oh no, it knocked our space station out of orbit, and it's now plummeting to the ground with all your genetically modified embryos. Congratulations on having a future. While our space station, we have guns, so don't even think about it. It really has concerns with companies who only care about the bottom line. Idealistic companies, which I feel like you have to be if you want to go to Mars, all companies will have, of course, small bits of corruption in there. You have a warlike scenario.
I think if we're to leave the planet, it should be a kind of a collective decision. Because if people start going out on their own, then it's kind of like the cowboy era, where it's like you're lone ranger kind of thing. Basically like a bunch of gangs fighting each other, or potentially fighting each other. I don't know. When, like, in certain sci-fi movies, there's this cartoon called Titan AE, and basically like Earth was destroyed, and you have different colonies of aliens that meet at these space stations, and no one really agrees. They all kind of have their own ideas of what should happen, and like people are fighting and stuff on the space stations, and there's just no agreement. And I think before we make that decision, we have to be. It would benefit us to do it like collectively,
Yeah. I think that collectively would obviously be ideal, but unfortunately, the cold hard truth is somebody's going to have to make the decision to leave Earth behind, because we can't even agree not to blow each other up with nuclear weapons.
Yet.
So
maybe after World War III.
Maybe after World War III. Although, will there be an after World War III if nuclear weapons are involved? I mean, if you look at the close calls on nuclear weapons, I'm not even worried about somebody intentionally launching a nuclear weapon. I'm really worried about somebody unintentionally launching a nuclear weapon. If you look at the almost mistakes that have happened in the past few years, it's pretty freaking terrifying, because it's not oops. If that one oops happens, it's all out nuclear war. I mean, if you look at it, what's going to happen if one country launches their nuclear arsenal or their one nuke, or, God forbid, their entire nuclear arsenal at a location? Even seeing the nukes in the air will probably cause other countries to respond.
Do you want to go on break now?
Yeah, sure. Let's go on break.
All right.
So, yeah. Join us back.
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching Top 10's Net, and in the video today we're looking at the top 10 ways that humans could colonize space. Number 10. Spacecrafts.
The first way we could colonize space is the same way humans have been colonizing the Earth for thousands of years, and that is simply to pack up and move there. Unfortunately, the closest habitable planet is believed to be about 14 light-years away, which is approximately 82 trillion miles. But if we somehow master interstellar space travel, our best bet would be to send one large colony for a variety of reasons. If that's the case, how many people would we need? In 2026, Mars One plans on sending 100 people to start colonizing Mars. However, to colonize a planet that is further away, say it will take 150 years to travel there, according to anthropologist Cameron Smith at Portland State University, we would need to send at least 20,000 people, with an ideal amount of 40,000 people to the new planet. Also, out of the 40,000 people, at least 23,000 need to be men and women of reproductive age.
Number 9. Cyborgs.
The idea of upgrading our weak Earth-loving body parts with robotic upgrades was first proposed in the 1960s by a NASA scientist named Manfred Kleins, who literally coined the term cyborgs. Kleins theorized that a human and robotic interface invites man to take an active part in his own biological evolution. Clients believe that these upgrades could make humans more physically able to explore space, and with a few upgrades and modifications, we would be able to adapt to any extraterrestrial conditions.
Number 8. Artificial intelligence.
Humans have yet to send a person to Mars, so you may be thinking, how are we going to colonize even the next solar system, which is 4.24 light years away, if we haven't even set foot on our closest neighbor? And it's an excellent point. In fact, some scientists believe that the task is too great for humans, and this may be something we will rely on artificial intelligence to do. There are two major ways that AI could help the colonization of space. The first is that artificial intelligence may be smarter than humans, and it will unlock the secrets to interstellar travel, or even something far more out there like how to use wormholes for space travel. The second way is that we could develop intelligent beings that would essentially pave the way for us. They would be programmed to seek out habitable planets and then build an intergalactic highway for humans.
Number 7. Genetically engineered embryos.
We keep mentioning that humans are terrible for space travel. For example, people going to Mars for 18 to 30 months will have a higher risk of cancer, tissue degradation, bone density loss, and brain damage, amongst other health problems. In fact, there are some people who are convinced that the only way humans could colonize a new planet would be if genetically modified humans were the first generation of residents. The embryos would be modified to better survive on the alien planet. Then it would be just a matter of shipping the embryos to the new planet.
Number 6. Genetically modified humans.
The closest habitable planet is 14 light-years away, while the closest star, Alpha Centauri, is about 4.24 light-years away. This means that if people want to travel to our closest neighbors and start colonizing them, there will need to be some outstanding advancement in technology when it comes to interstellar travel. The solution would be simply to genetically engineer Earthlings that don't age or age very slowly. If humans were genetically modified to live longer, they might be better working on the journey instead of sleeping. This would eliminate the need for deep hibernation, which would save energy. However, if that were the case, probably more genetic modification would be needed because they would need to genetically modify the colonizers' brains by eliminating things like loneliness and boredom so that they could pilot the ship for hundreds of years without being mentally destroyed.
Number 5. Evolution.
An interesting theory about space colonization is that humans may just evolve and become more physically suited at traversing the universe. Notably, it is believed that the first people to settle on Mars will see drastic changes in their bodies in their lifetimes as they adjust to life on Mars. If they have children, the changes will be more pronounced, and as generations go on, their bodies and physiology will change even more. Eventually, the Martians will become an offshoot of the human tree.
Number 4. Self-replicating probes.
In the late 1940s, Hungarian mathematician John von Neumann developed plans for self-replicating robots called universal conductors. The idea behind it was that these tiny robots would self-replicate exponentially, so 2 robots would build 4, 4 would build 16, and so on. While it would start off slow, eventually millions of robots would be constructing millions of robots. Then in 500,000 years, there would be probes reaching all 4 corners of the Milky Way. From there, what we could do with robots everywhere in the galaxy is nearly limitless, as we'll see in the next entry, but unfortunately, universal conductors are a little way off.
Number 3. Dyson spheres.
Possibly the closest real-life plans for building a Death Star-type structure is the Dyson sphere, and no, it wasn't designed by the same guys who make really expensive vacuum cleaners. Instead, the sphere was designed as a thought experiment by physicist and astronomer Freeman J. Dyson, who was trying to figure out a way to look for advanced alien life in the universe. Dyson believed that really advanced alien civilizations would have mastery over collecting energy in their galaxies, and they would have built an energy-catching sphere over a star to maximize collection of energy, which would produce infrared radiation, so he suggested looking for high levels of infrared radiation. So while the sphere was designed as a hypothetical way to look for advanced life, a study from Oxford University's Future of Humanity Institute believes that using something like von Neumann's self-replicating robots, we could build Dyson spheres and harness the energy of stars throughout the universe, giving us the energy needed to colonize the universe.
Number 2. Microorganism terraforming.
The problem with humans moving to another planet is that many of the closest ones aren't habitable for humans. For example, Mars is too cold and too dry. One way we could change that is through terraforming, which literally means earth shaping, and researchers believe they know how to do it. When it comes to terraforming Mars, we would need to select microorganisms that consume natural resources that are found on Mars. This would have a twofold effect on the planet. The first is that it would transform the soil on the planet, meaning vegetation would be possible, which would lead to more oxygen. Secondly, the microorganisms would also pump gas out into the air, and this would increase the thickness of the atmosphere around Mars, which would make the planet warmer and water would become more readily available.
Number 1. Bacteria.
Researchers believe that in the next 20 years, we should have the technology to store human DNA in bacteria. Once we do that, we could send the bacteria to a distant planet along with microbes that could terraform the planet. The biggest challenge researchers see is programming instructions into the bacteria so that it will know what to do once it reaches its destination. However, if they figure out how to include instructions in the bacteria, then the planet will be terraformed and eventually humans will evolve out of the bacteria.
So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below this video and also check out some of our other videos that are over there on the right. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Click that subscribe button below me now, and thank you for watching.
Hello there.
Welcome back.
So we're going to discuss more about the actual trip to Mars, like flying there through space and how we can protect ourselves, because that's like the first step in actually getting there, you know?
Yeah. So I think that, let me just look it up really quick. Let me just look up how can we protect ourselves from radiation when traveling to Mars. I just want to look at the basic top of the Google answer. I think we can go from there. So let's see. I'm going to Google, not paying. We are not paid by Google. We are not paid by Google. It is a personal preference. Okay. So I think one of the most, so I think the pressing matter is lack of gravity, but I think we may be able to maintain that while we're in space, maybe able to work out and maintain it. But I think the pressing matter is radiation, because what if everybody develops, tumors and dies in the first month of the trip? Okay, let's look up. What was I looking up again? I believe it was
How to protect.
Yes, how to protect against Mars' radiation. How to protect a ship against radiation.
I think it takes about 8 months to travel to Mars, or at least that's what I heard in the video that I watched.
Okay, I typed in agent, apparently, not against. No.
I don't know if tumors would be an issue, though, because, do tumors and does cancer, even develop that quickly?
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that once we get to Mars, the radiation from being from the radiation for 8 months would definitely have problems. So I think what I'm looking at mainly is how we could have the magnetic shield, theoretically. I think the water I don't see that happening. I see it being probable and it working. I don't know if we'd actually be able to get the water around the living quarters. I'm not sure. Let's see. All right, 2 primary methods: mass or magnets. To pick one over the other. No, 1 second. So, 1 second. So apparently, a good method is to have mass, a large amount of mass. So let me read this. The easiest method, or at least the most, let me just skip over that. The easiest method, just put a bunch of stuff. Okay, I'm quoting this from an actual person writing it. This is in a Wikipedia article, because I just said just a bunch of stuff. Just put a bunch of stuff around you to shield from radiation. One interesting, okay, that's interesting. Surround a ship with water. See, with water, ice. This doubles as water storage and radiation protection. Water actually shields quite well and is only slightly less effective by mass than lead. Okay, packed soil works too. Okay, that would be a sight to see. Imagine a ship, a super advanced ship to go to Mars, and they say, okay, super advanced ship built. One last step, get the dirt. That'd definitely be an interesting thing to see. All right, so looking like what I said was pretty correct around water or just stuff to put in there to shield against the radiation. But unfortunately, mass has its disadvantages. When we want a ship, do we really want that much mass to be there? How much mass do we need? How much water would we need if, there are all these variables? I think the water idea is good because that article by, let me just credit this really quick. It's on worldbuilding.stackexchange.com and radiation shielding for a spaceship, and the answer is from, I can't find their username, but the point is that the water idea is very good because they made a good point. Being able to get water, because we're going to need water for an 8-month-long journey unless we can put people into cryostasis. Another idea is to create gravity. So we can create gravity. We were talking about how low gravity would have impacts, but if we created, so that I think would solve a good problem. Imagine water, it also doubling as water storage because we need water for 8 months, but also we need gravity. Another idea is stasis. I don't know how we can do it exactly. I don't know how. I think the thing used most in movies is obviously cryostasis, freezing body. We don't know the logistics of that. If it's basically just on and off switch, you just freeze the body and unfreeze it. There are probably more complex methods. Or if there would be a sort of medically induced coma for that long. But normally in a medically induced coma, you have people taking care of you. What do you think of any other methods that there could be?
I'm wondering if they could repel the radiation or possibly absorb it. Maybe if, I don't even know what radiation is exactly. Like, is it heat? Is it just...
Oh, okay, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. I believe it's some sort of... so I know like a very basic thing about radiation. The way it affects the body is that, and this is where you get, mutations. Radiation, when it makes contact with the matter in your body, your cells, it actually physically manipulates them and penetrates your body. So that's what causes mutations. Now, mutations normally result in cancer and tumor growth and death. But then you look at Fallout, it's like, oh, super mutants. But no, you're most likely just going to get you're most likely going to die if you get radiation poisoning. You're going to be throwing up. You might get mutations, but it'll probably be on your dead, rotting corpse. So no one really knows.
I wonder if they would need to protect themselves from debris as well.
That's another idea for the magnetic shield, deflecting the debris off. So let me look at the magnets thing right here.
So maybe they could kill two birds with one stone, essentially.
Yeah, radiation with a magnetic field stopping, with trying to deflect radiation as well as debris in space. Although maybe debris wouldn't be as much as a problem if we had directional thrusters. Although it might be a problem with trying to get back on course because normally it really is just point and shoot in space. You just point, bang, and you're done because there's no force to stop it here on Earth. We have winds, we have gravity, we have all this bull crap that we don't need to deal with in space. On airplanes, you got these massive hydraulic engines that turn the wings. And they turn the wings, and make it fly. But we wouldn't need that in space because it's just point and shoot. You point, activate the engines, and boom, Mars, just in 8 months. So it would be difficult to get it, maybe to get a destination solution once again, if we had tried to dodge the debris. So I think, like you said, killing 2 birds with 1 stone would be probably the best solution.
I also wonder how people would protect themselves from being cramped on a spaceship like that for so long.
Yeah, I imagine some people would go insane. I imagine they would. Because imagine that 8 months, I feel like you would have to have some security officers there. Some psychologically tested, put in test security officers. If you want to have, let's say, a colony ship with 100 people going to Mars, I would say we need to have some personnel there with weapons. I think the hull would have to be, this is a very military solution, which may not be good for starting a new future. But I think we might need to have peacekeepers on Mars because it comes for the greater good. The greater good, the end justifies the means. It really comes down to that. Because when you look at it, we probably will, if we get large colony ships sent to Mars, probably going to have people, we might need peacekeepers to keep the peace. But then it starts to go into less of a shaping a new future and more of a dictatorship. So I feel like we would need to find a balance, or we need to thoroughly test every single recruit. And if one person goes insane, it's over. But I don't know which solution is preferable.
No, even like if you had security officers and psychologists on board, like
I'd like to see that in space. It's like that bed you have in a psychologist person, and then but you have like things to strap you down so you don't float away.
Well, like, would they even be fully prepared?
Yeah.
To fight off insanity?
If one security officer goes insane and just decides, okay, well, I'm just going to shoot everybody and open the airlock because screw it, that could be a problem.
Yeah, like, they just kind of give up on life.
Like I said, we could train them thoroughly, but the thing is, with the potential security officer, instead of with the insane people, it takes a riot. With security officer, it takes one. Because they have weapons, they have the means to access the ship. Yes, it's a smaller room for error, but that error has the potential to be much bigger.
I think if I were to be going to Mars, which I might, if it happens within my lifetime, like I would probably sign up to go. But if I were to go to Mars, I think what I would do there is probably, I don't know, some kind of like medical, just because.
I think medics there would be probably the most valued people due to the fact that you'd also have to be probably a scientist too. Instead of, because, you'd be trained to deal with medical emergencies on Earth. And I don't know if there is a cure for radiation poisoning. You don't know what could happen. We could need peacekeepers. One peacekeeper goes a little bit crazy and it all ends. So I think that in the end, let's go through what we talked about for traveling to Mars. Step 1, who's going to do it? Okay. So I think we talked about best solution, or maybe not best, but preferable solution, or likely solution would be a company, right?
Like a company as opposed to like a government thing?
Well, I think governments would go to Mars, but colonization I'm talking about.
Wait, sorry, what did you say?
I was just saying that, do you think that who's more likely to go colonize Mars? Governments or companies? I think it's companies.
I want to say governments. Just because, I don't know, you get like would a company really have everything that they need? They would have to be like a super rich company like Apple.
Apple decides to go to Mars. That'd be pretty cool. Everyone got the iPhone on Mars. They could develop kind of like a Mass Effect Omni tool, like an eye tool, and beep, 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 beep. That'd be pretty cool. Everyone got like their own holographic interface, and that'd be pretty cool. Except if everyone have every single holographic interface would have a different charger for every single new model, and then it's all a business scam right there. But I think so. The next step we just talked about who would go there would be getting there. So I think the most likely thing we talked about photonic propulsion, solar sails, nuclear fusion, but the most likely is what we're already using because people are lazy. Chemical rockets. All right. So, you know what? We also missed something. Artificial gravity we could create. So theoretically, creating a spinning circle and housing people. So imagine like a circle this thick, and it's going and it's spinning. You create artificial gravity inside the circle by doing that. So imagine all the passengers there. And also force. So when something is going, it exerts force. When you floor your car, you get hit back in the seat. Same concept in space, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be, where if you basically go fast enough and you maintain your speed, you may have enough energy to be able to have artificial gravity, like you could stand like this, which would be pretty cool. But I believe that in the 8 month time slot we're looking for, if it was to travel at 8 months, it could take 8 months to go to Mars. I don't think it would have enough force to even be noticeable. I could be wrong, but since they're talking about being 8 months and they need something to keep the low gravity at bay, I don't think that would be possible. Otherwise, we have to go very fast. So maybe nuclear fusion rockets would have enough power to hit us that hard so we can blast back and have artificial gravity. Or we could, like I said, that circular spinning thing, I just want a thing, have artificial gravity, or we just have rigorous exercise routines. But we don't know if that would work, the exercise routines. We don't know if any of it would work. Clear. What do you think the most likely option would be?
Well, I'm wondering how they could actually like change the gravity on Mars, if that's even possible. Like, because if we were just to live there as it is, with like minimal terraforming, then we would need like all this equipment all the time. We wouldn't be able to go out like we can on Earth. So I'm wondering, what would the methods be to change the gravity, if that's even possible?
I don't think it's actually, I could be wrong again, but I don't think it's possible to change the gravity of the planet due to we'd have to actually increase its mass. And I don't know how we would do that. I could be wrong again. But
maybe we just like add soil onto it.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. There have been stranger ideas. You know, one of the methods for terraforming Mars, because let's talk about terraforming for a second, because we haven't touched on that. Terraforming Mars would be just taking a comet and just smashing it into Mars. That's theoretically how Earth got its water, became a green planet. I'm not kidding. Just take the comet and just hit it on Mars. That's how we could
accidentally destroyed it.
Yeah. Theoretically, we could also take an asteroid and hit it into the moon and give it an atmosphere. So we could take comet, hit Mars, release water, as well as creating an atmosphere, kill two birds with one stone. Or we could make these giant solar mirrors to reflect the light from the sun down on the polar caps of Mars, the ice caps of Mars, and melt it and make the water, water again, not ice. But we could have a problem there, because the problem then is that we could have a problem there with maintain that heat. So a good way to maintain heat, what's the thing that's killing Earth right now? Well, the carbon dioxide the global warming? Well, we could literally global warm Mars. We could do that. We could just create giant factories and just pump as much smog into the atmosphere as we could. It's unwelcomed on Earth. But so imagine this. What if we tried to move? I mean, it probably never happened. It'd probably be impossible. What if we theoretically could move all our industry producing to Mars? Obviously, all technology would be delayed by 8 months, but that's not that big of a deal. Move it all to Mars, you could probably terraform Mars faster. Although there were very big concerns brought up with that theory that, well, first of all, how the heck, it's going to take a long time to do that. It's going to be very costly with all the fuel. It's just going to be a very lengthy process, as well as a costly one. But giving it an atmosphere, and then next part, I think the hardest part is probably getting oxygen in the atmosphere. Oxygen on the planet. So obviously grow plants, right? They eat they make oxygen, blah, 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 blah. Boom, the whole world works. So it could be possible also to try to, and I could be completely wrong, but because I don't know if it's possible to grow the plants in a very, very small area to create oxygen in that one area. And obviously, it would spread, but more oxygen in that one area. I don't know if it would be too dispersed to work, if it would work, if it wouldn't work. But bottom line is, I believe there was a book that was written called, I think it was Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars. I think Oral was Red Mars, Blue Mars, Green Mars. I don't know which one it was, but I think Blue Mars might be the last one, I'm not sure. And it's basically the steps to colonization of Mars. So I think that terraforming Mars would be pretty cool. Basically a new Earth kind of thing. And from new Earth, we could do all sorts of things. Also about magnetic slingshots around the moon. Slingshots, you just gotta go with a slingshot around the moon. That'd be pretty cool. Get us to Mars faster. Also, space guns. Sounds weird and sci-fi and cool. Space guns. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew. But I'm talking about a gun from the moon, maybe to launch a projectile that carried passengers. Or just supplies, maybe supplies. Also, there are theories about communication. We could have laser communication, would be cool. That would travel at light speed, faster than the communication problems we have now. So, yeah, all these sorts of really cool theories happening. But back to the radiation, like we talked about. Water could be a thing we could do. Water around the ship. Also double as water supplies. But I think a big thing would be gravity and people being born. And that, I really think we would have to have genetically engineered embryos for that. I really think we would have to have that.
Yeah. I know they at least have the blueprints. Right now, something that can actually kind of take the place of plants as far as converting CO2 into oxygen. And I'm thinking, like, that would be a way to bring oxygen to Mars in a way that you wouldn't really have to grow anything. So that amongst other methods, I think would work. I don't know. I don't really have too much more to say about this. Do you want to talk about anything else?
Well, I think I want to wrap up this quick topic right now with the fact of habitation pods, which I think are the most direct methods of how people are going to live. They would have oxygen. They wouldn't have gravity. They would have oxygen, possibly be able to shield from radiation. So that would be best. But I think the biggest thing, once we're on Mars, radiation gravity, right? We could theoretically give that area a magnetic shield of itself. Maybe we could do that, then stop the radiation problem, but gravity is always going to be a problem. The way that we manage on the International Space Station is through exercise routines, and still astronauts lose muscle mass. But we don't know how it would be on an 8-month-long journey. I don't know how long. I'm going to look that up right now. What's the longest time an astronaut spent on the ISS?
And I wonder if I don't know if this is true or not, but if gravity actually gets heavier when you're closer to the core of a planet. And well, if that were the case, you could pretty much like go underground on Mars and you wouldn't have to worry as much about gravity. So,
one sec. Okay, let's see. How? No. Wait a minute. Okay. All right. So apparently, all right, listen to this. The longest person in space that spent in space, they spent, drumroll please, and this is actually good news, 14 months. So that's something. How long was it took to Mars? It was 8. Let me look it up. How long will it take to get to Mars? How long will it take to get to Mars? Okay, no, I typed in Mars. No, stop it. Should I use Google? Hey, evening. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna do it on Google. Sorry, one sec. How long would it take to Mars? It would take, drum roll please. One sec. Roughly 6 months. So actually less than we hypothesized. So that's good. Remember, the longest person in space was 14 months. So 438 days. Okay, so let me read this. Russian cosmonaut Valery Polyakov, I don't know if I pronounced that right, probably I'm not, spent nearly 438 consecutive days aboard the Mir space station from January 1994 to March 1995. So that's pretty cool. He therefore holds the record for the longest single human spaceflight and perhaps set another one for wobbliest legs after he finally touched down. Okay. So that's cool. I don't know how long he would how long his muscles fared that. And remember, after they would touch down on Mars, their muscles would still be extremely deteriorated, right? So
I just picture like you have like a colony of like 20,000 people. They're all traveling to Mars, and then they finally get there, and they're like they can't move. They're all like, ooh.
It's like even the Mars gravity would be too much for them. So I think it would be best to create an artificial gravity when we're on Mars. When we're on Mars, maybe we wouldn't have to have that. Maybe we wouldn't. Maybe we'd only have to survive one generation. We'd have to survive the radiation. We'd need water. So we'd have to get shipments of water, or we'd terraform it, the planet.
You can synthesize water too.
Yeah, we could synthesize water. We could, for a long time, recycle our own urine for a long time. I guess water isn't that much of a problem. But I think the main problem, radiation, lack of gravity, but I think we can genetically engineer embryos there. I think what we'd have to do is maybe bring a mobile command center to Mars, and Then a bunch of people could stay in the mobile command center. I think the mobile command center would have to have a sort of artificial gravity, though, to sustain itself while sustain the scientists that are aboard. And the mobile command center in orbit could monitor everybody and create the genetically engineered embryos. And potentially the mobile command center, if it does have artificial gravity, if it doesn't, they might have to visit Mars, which would be very costly. But I think that the mobile command center, if it had artificial gravity, I think they'd have to keep a reserve of people there in case everybody dies. I think they'd have to keep a reserve of people there, being healthy, living in the reserve almost. And they could help give the genetically engineered embryos, and they'd grow up on Mars. Anything bad happens, send them back to the mobile command center with artificial gravity. Again, it could be done in a million different ways. It probably won't be done in the way that we're thinking of. But I mean, who knows? Colonizing Mars is pretty cool.
When do you think we'll actually make it to Mars?
Well, was Elon Musk who said that he thinks that humans are going to I want to get to Mars in 2025. Humans are going to get to Mars in 2025. I believe that's when they're going to get there. Of course, people have said things like, oh, we're going to do this now, and it's always been delayed. It's possible that we'll reach Mars in 2025. It's certainly looking like that at the moment, but with things still in the air about how we're going to protect ourselves from radiation, maybe they aren't in the air, maybe they've already been discussed. But as of now, there are still theories. So maybe it's already been discussed, maybe it's already been decided. I could be completely wrong, but I'm still seeing a lot of theories. Maybe those theories are outdated, but that could imply that we still aren't completely sure on how we're going to protect ourselves from that radiation. And like you just said, space debris. Now, there may not be much space debris. I think radiation is much more pressing matter due to the fact that you're definitely going to have radiation. You may or may not have space debris, but if they choose to make the decision to only protect against radiation with possibly a water shield, you could have a huge problem with the fact that if you do encounter space debris, a single hit, if you don't have directional thrusters, even if you do have directional thrusters, it might be hard to get your destination solution back on track. And if you have to have constant rockets, like normally the rockets don't keep going, I'm pretty sure. They just stop, and because the momentum just keeps going, because there's no gravity to stop or wind resistance to stop things in space. So you really don't know what's going to happen. A single hit, even if you try to get back on course with structural thrusters, it could be the end. You might have to keep large amounts of fuel in reserve. So space debris, why it may not happen, if it does happen, it could be disastrous if we don't have a countermeasure. So I think that colonizing Mars it's always been a fascination almost, you know? Everybody's always been fascinated with the idea of going beyond the stars. Everybody's always been fascinated with space. And that's the next step. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Do it.
What?
And now we're finally going to do it.
Yeah, we're finally going to do it. Hopefully. We'll be saying in 30, 50 years, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to do it in 10 years, you know. But we will have to get through a lot of obstacles. We could possibly terraform it, although that would be hard. But I think we will do it. What do you think? You think we'll do it? I think we'll be able to do it.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, eventually I think it can be done.
We have some stuff to deal with here on Earth, but I think we'll definitely be able to do it.
Yes.
And we're not going to destroy ourselves before we're able to go to Mars.
Yeah.
And then if we do destroy ourselves, we'll have another colony of humans out there to continue on the legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, there could be colonies living in all different time periods. But that begs the question, why, if people had fast and light technology, imagine this. We get fast and light technology in, 5,000 years, okay? And we're like, oh crap, we have faster than light technology now. Okay, here's where it gets complicated again. You send, like, let's just say a probe, faster than light up to the air drive to the end of, to just somewhere, then send it back. And you need to calculate it right. So when you send it back, it goes back in time just the right amount. So it's it's now. And it's like, hello, this is a message from the future. This is how faster than light travel works. So that'd be really cool. We could literally have time travel. Now, time traveling into the future, I hear people say, we need to reach the speed of light. We need to do something like, I don't see it as that hard. If we develop stasis, it's that easy to travel to the future. Seriously, just put something in such an impenetrable thing where it won't open until a certain amount of time. I think that's when we could time travel into the future. And traveling into the, it's not really time traveling, it's more just staying asleep into the future. But actually time traveling into the future would be a lot more costly and expensive. But I think that's a cool way. We could be time manipulators in the future. We could colonize space without time. We could say, okay, I'm going to take a trip to the future. I'm going to take a trip to the past. And just imagine that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
A whole new civilization.
I think when people here, we finally unite as a planet. And I personally think that it will happen. But once that happens, there's going to be such an explosion of technology like that, because once all of our resources are being directed towards something that isn't war, it's just gonna be an explosion of this enlightened technology.
Yeah.
I don't even think it'll take 5,000 years to be able to do that kind of stuff. I think it'll happen sooner.
That would be great.
We'll be so focused.
Yeah.
But
imagine how cool it would be just to be explorers and conquerors of the entire known universe as well as of time.
yeah.
Whole new civilizations, all in time. We could go back in time and enlighten our civilization from this very primitive time, and who knows? So imagine infinite technological progression, where you go back in time, tell people how to do what you have, and then they could go up from there and probably develop even further. So imagine infinite technological progression by that.
And the question is, has that actually happened? Have people come back in time to tell us that?
Yeah. I mean, that's really cool. I remember in the conspiracy theories episode, there was 10 something evidence of time travel. It's maybe they're from the future here to tell us about all the cool things that we can do. They just don't think we're ready yet. They're like, nah, I'll wait a few more years. You don't deserve it yet. But I think another really nice thing would be, why haven't we discovered civilization yet? Why haven't we? There are a few things. One, the universe is just too big, which is the east one. It's too big. Maybe we will discover civilization, but it's just too darn big right now. Why haven't we found evidence of it? This one really can't explain that, because we've seen a lot. We've seen habitable planets. Why don't we see signs of intelligent life there? Maybe there isn't intelligent life. Maybe it's just unintelligent life. Then two, we can't travel. Just like them, maybe there's no way to travel. And I don't know. It was some sort of scientist. It was I think it was a philosopher a while back that came up with this concept that was actually, it's very depressing. That advanced civilizations are doomed to make themselves go extinct.
Why?
Because just imagine how we look now. We have these minds for intelligent conflict. We make such big and wonderful things that, are we doomed to destroy ourselves? Are we doomed to come into conflict and destroy ourselves? Because I remember there's a theory of evolution that if all evolution should follow the around same pattern, no matter where anyone is. So if that theory rings true, maybe their brains could develop around the same. And if their brains are the same, then it's very possible that if they're intelligent life and their brains develop the same, following that same theory of evolution, they could create devices as we have. If you look around the world, violence has always been a thing. If you let's look at Native American culture, for example, and then let's look at British culture at the same time period that they existed. You see, Native Americans, they didn't have any technology as much as the British did, blah, blah, blah. But what did they have? Violence. They had violence. The British. Maybe it's just a trait of intelligent life that eventually develops them to lead to unpleasant things, such as weapons of mass destruction. I just talked about how many close calls there have been for an accidental nuclear launch. Maybe advanced civilizations are doomed to kill themselves off. Maybe we are truly alone in the universe, or if we have neighbors, they're doomed to fall before we can even see them. So that's stepping away from the cool, interesting, fun discussion we were having a second ago, but it could be true.
Maybe the other race that has similar qualities to us, it's already advanced past the point where they don't need bodies. So they're just that consciousness that is feeling the whole universe, and they've kind of passed the torch on to us.
Maybe
somehow.
Maybe we're just the playthings of some sort of galactic civilization that is so much more advanced than us. We can't even comprehend their own existence. And they're trying to get us there by putting these thoughts into our head, since we are them in a way. Anyways.
I know some people think that there are multiple alien races at war right now. And there's kind of a group of kind of evil, not evil, but they're not for humanity. And there's a group that is for humanity. And they're kind of at war right now. I think lizard people fall under that category. But there's also the gray aliens. But one of the races...
Do people like us or hate us?
What?
Do lizard people like us or hate us?
And then there's one race that's the Aryan race. It kind of blonde hair, blue eyes kind of people that supposedly are for humanity. I don't know. People get into it pretty intensely, but I mean, who knows?
Trying to stop the gray abducting, probing aliens and the lizard people that lizard people. Yeah. Ooh, that got deep pretty quickly.
I'm still really fascinated by there was an instance in the early 2000s with crop circles where right outside a station that was built to detect alien signals, they emanate a signal that has a list of human information, like our DNA, what our prime elements are, what current technology we're using for satellites, and we emanate this signal all the time. And the satellite is also open to receiving a signal back. And they didn't receive a signal back, but I guess one night a crop circle appeared right outside the space station, and it had a list of that same list of information that we sent out, but from the aliens. And it said they colonized the first 3 planets from their sun. They have another element that they're kind of made up of, which is silicon, I think. And they use the same numerical system. But what was really different is the technology that they used to send out their signal.
Yeah.
And the symbol that they put on that thing, it was like a circle, but with many different circles. It kind of looks like a bunch of raindrops falling in water. And it's really weird. It's like, I don't know. I wonder if that actually means anything. I think if there's any actual alien interaction with the Earth, that was one instance.
That's cool.
It was really cool.
If
So
that's true, that's pretty amazing. If aliens actually did contact Earth through that method, that's pretty amazing. And I think another fear, at least a fear of mine, is that if we ever come into contact with aliens, it's a theory of, evolution follows these specific patterns. If that isn't true, it's possible that we would never be able to comprehend their language. They would never be able to comprehend ours. Maybe they don't even communicate through language. Maybe they don't even communicate or some other thing on a different level, and we could never understand each other. They just exist. I think that's a fear of mine, that we could never communicate just because of too many differences, and we just wouldn't be able to comprehend the other. I think that's definitely a fear of mine, that we wouldn't, like, as much as, we wouldn't even be able to begin to comprehend them. And that's a scary thing.
my fear would be wanting to leave humans and kind of join the aliens. Like, if you come in contact with an advanced civilization and you have an open mind, you're like, they bring all this technology, all this, like, this is what you could be kind of thing.
Yeah.
It would be like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go with you guys. Like, take me with you.
Yeah.
I would feel like that if I were to meet aliens.
Yeah. I think that's my greatest fear, not being able to communicate at all, ever. Just because of the huge differences.
I mean, communication would be, it's essentially like taking a water ball and pointing to it. So,
Yeah.
we could communicate with them, like, just by pointing to things and kind of constructing a language together that is about that.
That'd be great. But the problem is, what if they don't even understand pointing? What if they don't even understand what holding is? What if they're giant, maybe small, giant, who knows what? They don't even comprehend pointing. They don't what if they don't know what are they doing? Why are they taking this thing and putting it on this thing? Why are they shoving this in my face? Because you'd be like, oh, look at this. We immediately understand that, like, holding this up and like shaking it means, okay, look at that, or something about that. Maybe they would think that, like, what the heck is that person doing just shaking that thing? Like, we immediately understand that, but they might not. I think developing an entirely new method of communication would be absolutely insane and amazing. I think that would be great. Just learning about each other's culture and species while creating a method of communication.
Telepathically.
That's
how we would communicate with the aliens.
Beam it into their mind.
Yeah, we could just feel each other and kind of
feel the eternity.
Yes.
Feel eternity. That'd be really cool, though, meeting aliens and learning about their culture while developing an entirely different language. Maybe literally sign language, like literally holding things up, like this means mouse. Like, I think the most basic way to communicate, and it might not even work if they can't comprehend what we comprehend. If, like, we hold this up and we just go. And because this would mean that they know that we're referring to this object. I think that even if they can't comprehend our communication, I think this is a higher chance of working. They might not even be able to comprehend that. Who knows? We could just go like this. So we could communicate like very basically, primitively, like, and that can mean whatever. But just the most basic things like referring to objects. But who knows? We could have flashcards and show them what we're talking about. Like,
Well, in that crop circle instance, they also sent another crop circle that was like an alien face, kind of like with his hand like that, and it was holding a CD, and on the CD was encoded a bunch of information that spiraled inwards, but it was read in binary, and people actually decoded it, and it gives like this message for humanity in a way. So I think, I don't know.
binary might work because if they develop computers, the same way we do at least, they could develop an entirely new way of computers and devices communicating. Who knows? Really, who knows?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. That's what it comes down to. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's scary, cool, and awesome. So I think we should do closing thoughts. So what are your closing thoughts on this subject?
My closing thoughts are, well, my predictions are that there will be a World War III, but afterwards we're gonna be like, okay, we really need to like we're done. We're done with all this crap. Like we're too far advanced, and now we're gonna focus on like space exploration and kind of making sure that we're a healthy human body as a whole.
Same thing that happened with World War II, the UN. I mean, yeah.
And then from there, we're just gonna keep going upward, like keep exploring space and whatnot.
So I think my closing thoughts are, it's possible we could get to Mars in 2025, like I think SpaceX is predicting, but I think the natural progression of humankind could bring us to new and insane methods of travel. See, right now we think that, okay, we have rockets. We could use photonic propulsion. We could use nuclear fusion. And all of this is moving things forward. We could develop entirely new different things, because if you took somebody back in the very far past and showed them this is a rocket, they would be, whoa, mind blown. So they couldn't even comprehend that existed. The only way they knew was wind to travel. So there could be an entirely new different technology that we are soon to discover that we can't even comprehend right now. So I think eventually we will reach a point where Mars will be colonized, could be colonized, or we could. There's so many infinite possibilities. I can't even give my thoughts. I think that is the best thing I can give right now. So I guess thank you for watching Youth on Subjects of the World. This is the smallest panel we've ever had. It's not really even a panel, it's just a conversation between two people. But so thanks for joining us. It was fun. See you next time.
See ya.
If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Mainstream media exists for the purposes of indoctrination and manipulation of public perception. The world of free and independent media is growing, and with the upsurge in information now available in the public domain, it has never been easier to access free and independent media. The exploration of this information resulted in an experimental project which would provide a fully supported space for researchers, whistleblowers, and seekers of all kinds to express themselves and educate the world. On the 1st of January 2015, Conscious Consumer Network was launched to the world. Nobody thought we would make it this far, but CCN is the longest running free and independent media network of its kind. CCN is a unique collaboration of hearts and souls, bringing you information from different perspectives to educate and inform. Since we started CCN, we have had only one desire, the pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world, and this has not changed. Having overcome many challenges over the last 2 years, CCN is here to stay, and we've got great things lined up for 2017. Help keep CCN on the air by supporting the 2017 Network Support Fund.